everybody, and welcome to the Sunny 16 podcast. You will need a comfy chair this week. Go get a comfy chair right now. You will then need something to sort of prop you upright, and you'll need one of those neck pillows from when you used to travel on planes, because this is the Cheap Shots Challenge Show. Woo! Okay, who have we got with us tonight, Mr. Producer? We have John in the background here doing production tonight, so all the live stuff that you can see. There he is in the corner of the screen. Hi,
He's
John.
waving.
So all of the fancy stuff you can see when you're watching this on YouTube to see all the actual photos. That is all John doing it live. He's like a DJ, a Mixmaster J, I think we'll call him.
He's an idiot as well, isn't he?
MC
I
Banana.
love the way your little Polaroid just pops up on the screen, sort of sneaks into the corner and then comes back. It's hilarious. I can't continue the show with that kind of humour going on. Anyway, okay, all right. Somebody else. I'm going to introduce somebody else, so hopefully they can speak without laughing quite as much as I am. Claire, how are you doing today?
Evening. I'm well, thank you, Aidan. Always lovely to be here.
Okay, great. And Graham, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Aid. Yeah, it's good. It's nice to be back here. I feel like my face is slowly disappearing behind this beard, which makes everybody wants to see
Can but hope.
see how bad things are getting with my hair situation at the moment. Then go to YouTube, because we're putting this out on YouTube, and I am looking more and more like Charles Manson with every passing day. So that's good, right? That's the look everybody wants.
And this week's Easter egg is if you can spot the exact time code when the mouse pops out of Graham's beard to say hello.
Or just imagine if we get another frog this week. I can actually bring the frog on there. So fingers crossed. I don't think we will. It's been very hot and dry today, but if we get another frog moment, that will happen. So
indeed.
Yeah.
Are you well?
Yeah, it's good. Also, I was going to say, I realise that some people might be listening to this and the word Cheap Shots Challenge might be putting fear in their heart, as you said, in terms of bum numbing. Here we go. But actually, it's going to be compact and bijou, because one, we just didn't have that many entries this time, which is a shame. But also, our fabulous guest judge has done a sterling job of sorting through them and picking them out. So it's going to be smoky hot nailing it tonight.
Yeah, so the eagle-eyed amongst you have noticed that there is a Polaroid that is currently not revealing our guest. Well, there we go. Nobody saw that coming. So I would like to welcome to the show somebody that actually I personally haven't spoken to for far too long, and I'm very sorry about that. Welcome, Paul Mckay. How you doing, buddy?
Very well, thank you. I had thought you'd been kicked off this show months ago, to be honest, Dave.
I was.
Graham kept saying so.
I was, yeah. Graham's bid for world domination. He unseated me for a while there, but I'm back, so that's nice.
Yeah. Didn't work. I caused a global pandemic to try and keep him off the show, but still found a way back.
That's the thing is, podcasting you can do from home. It's about
it's
about the most fun you can have with other people from home down an internet connection. Is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Or have I just not just been exploring the internet enough whilst we've all been locked down? I don't know.
I think that, but that's all right. God bless you, is what I say to that. But it's nice to have us all back together. I say all back together. I don't know if we've ever had everybody back together like this, but it's been a while. When were you last on the podcast, Paul? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
Maybe summer. I can't remember. We talked so much in those weekly YouTubes.
That's true. Yeah, that was.
I got a Graham overdose, and I've still got some symptoms.
Yeah. And of course, I saw you fairly recently, relatively recently, right before the last lockdown, the current lockdown kicked in. We went for a lovely stroll, didn't we?
We managed to fit in a social distance photo walk in the matter of minutes that we were allowed between lockdown 2B and 3A. Yes, it was lovely. Yeah. I was trying to find photos, actually, when we were there. I was trying to find photos that I could put as my background of your face. But actually, I think I don't think I took any photos of you.
That's probably for the best. Although I could have seen my face at that point. That would have been something. So.
Do you two live close by then, close to each other?
Yeah, not that far away. About an hour away.
Other side of Oxford.
Okay, not too far.
In a very civilized part of the world here. We had a very nice walk around some woods. I don't know where we were. It was very nice though. The sun shone. It was good.
Well, you can do that again as of today, can't you? You guys, you can meet up for a socially distanced walk and hang out.
I finished the roll of film that I started on the last one.
Yeah, that was good. Before we get into this, Paul, for the benefit of our listeners, should we have just a very quick update, because we were talking about this before we started. So a very quick update on how things are going vis-a-vis having film to sell at Analogue Wonderland at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's been it's been an interesting year. We've managed to stay open for most of it, which I know makes us very lucky, a consequence of our business model rather than any great skill or anything, but I am very grateful for that. We did have one hairy moment where we had a false positive with one of our warehouse staff, which led to 36 hours of shut down, general panic, cleaning, and then the more advanced test coming back negative, which was the best possible result for all involved. That felt like quite a long time. But no, apart from that, we're doing what we can. The rules, at least they're not changing every week, which they were for a lot of last year, which got exhausting, frankly. So we sort of, as much as we all have really, settled into the routine of how to go about doing stuff. And then the exciting thing of the last couple of weeks, if anyone's been following our Instagram, is that we've had a couple of team changes and confirmations, which is really lovely. So all film shooters as well, which has been really nice. So we've had Emily, who I know listens to the podcast, who joined us as sort of a seasonal Christmas worker in December, and then in March, 2 months after her contract ended, we're still going, and then actually quit her other job to commit to us full time, which was lovely. And then also Emma Lloyd, who joined us as a warehouse worker and is just this week moved over to help me with some of the marketing stuff. And we're just talking before we started, she's also in charge of TikTok.
Yeah.
I think makes a lot of sense for everyone involved. So that's been really, really lovely. And yeah, you mentioned having film to sell. That's been a bit less fun. We've been wrestling availability as pandemics and furloughs and raw materials and Suez Canal ferries now, I'm sure, will be a problem in about 2 weeks' time somehow. That's all gone through, but honestly, can't complain after the year of everything that's going on. Really, really can't complain. And also we've been able to do some fun stuff like the community fund and things like that. That's been really lovely.
One of the things when we went for our walk, one of the things we talked about at quite great length, because it was just happening, was Brexit and how that was going to affect what you were doing. You're now 3 months into it. How is that going in terms of shipping stuff abroad? Is it easier than you thought? Is it worse than you thought?
Much worse. Uh-oh. There is a list of downsides, and I haven't seen an upside, and that's not a political statement. That's business fact. Our business to Europe has fallen off a cliff. Our importing from Europe takes between 2 days and 2 weeks longer than normal and has extra costs, paperwork. One of my favorite stories so far, let's think. There's the double film that was sent from Spain that after 2 weeks, we finally got like a ping through being like, your tracking number has been updated. And we're like, great, that means it's probably in Heathrow, about to be delivered. And they're like, it's arrived in Barcelona. And we're like, that's where it was. What? We've also had some Silbera from Russia that did a 2-month trip of Europe and ended back in Russia. That was good. Yes, there's a lot of that stuff going on. And at the moment, as I say, shipping to Europe in the sizes and the values that we're doing doesn't make sense for people receiving it because of the charges and the things. That will apparently get better from July with a new set of legal regulations coming through. But yeah, it's not very fun. And there's a little Facebook group between myself, Solarcan, Sam, Max from Intrepid,
Mm.
Steve Cosgrove, a few others who all have been going through this. Max, by the way, read the entire Brexit trade treaty on New Year's Eve, I think, just for fun. He's done the most work, so he's our informal guru on it all. But every week there's a problem or something. But I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
That's that. July, hopefully, it's easier. Who knows?
Mm.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Well, we'll probably get on to Cheap Shots Challenge side of things. The reason we got you on to join us was because this was your idea. When we were out for our walk in the lovely sunshine, much like we had today, you came up with this suggestion, and I thought it was a very good suggestion. And seeing as you don't very often have very good suggestions, grabbed it and ran with it. When you came up with the idea for Clichés, did you have a preconceived idea of what you might see as entries, and have the pictures that we got sent in met that expectation?
Well, I must say I am disappointed with the quality of photos that have come in that the quality is way too high for what I was hoping for. I understand the theme and the way that people have gone from cliches, but they're almost doing it too well. They're too. I had in mind images that were 100% cliche and 0% artistic value. Unfortunately, your listeners have made sure that is at worst 50-50 and sometimes even aired on the side of artistic value, which is a huge disappointment to me.
I know, they're swines for it.
And
They're absolute swines.
Exactly. They're too sophisticated for their own good. But no, there are a couple of absolutely brilliant cliches in there. The ones that I don't think I've seen that I was really expecting. I was expecting a waterfall in the woods on long exposure. And I saw that necessarily. That's a classic. I think I was expecting some reflected architecture in a puddle.
Oh yeah.
Great. I was hoping for that. Didn't see any of that. I was hoping for some Cinestill petrol stations, but maybe that's gone beyond cliche. So I don't know what that is. It's gone around the other side. It's now original.
It's unique now, which is weird.
That is weird. But, no, there's a lot in there that is very special. That I'm sure we're going to come on to soon. But no, I've really enjoyed it. And as I said to you, I had the embarrassing situation of being a film retailer who got home, went to take a photo on Polaroid and realised I had no film in the fridge for it. So I was going to do a fresh cliche Polaroid of my own for tonight. So I'll have to do that tomorrow and put it on Instagram. Maybe with a cliched, because when does this go out?
Thursday.
So if I do one tomorrow, but with a cliched photo with a really cliched caption, but no explanation.
That could work.
I'm not sure people are going to spot the difference between that and your usual output on Instagram.
Wow.
This is the problem. This is again the artistic value day to day. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that, and we'll see whether anyone goes, "This is clearly bullshit," or people are like, "This is so good. This is so original." We'll see. Let's try and gain Instagram.
What perfect day for it, because when it goes out on Thursday, there is, of course, April Fool's Day. We planned this very carefully to work like that.
I remember seeing this, it was a couple of years ago, I think. I don't know whether you guys know the podcast and YouTube series Picture This. It's with a couple of American, I think actually a couple, American photographers. Very, very popular, really quite funny and informative. And they went on a photography trip, I think it was to Iceland or to Norway. And the guy, and they both have massive Instagram followers, and the guy decided, without telling his followers, that he'd do a travel cliche week where he only posted ridiculous cliches of travel with ridiculous inspirational quotes and no explanation, and then tracked what happened to his followers.
Did he
So
get
it's like
more?
a very small version of that.
That's
Adrian?
awesome.
Did he get more followers?
No, he lost quite a lot.
Oh, that's something, because that gives you some hope, I think, in the world.
They were amazing. You have to go back and look. They were just obviously brilliantly taken, but so well done as a cliche that, I think it was the captions that really pushed people over the edge.
Before we get into looking at the pictures, I just think it's important to know what It's fine. That's meant to hit the ground like that. Know what people are competing for this evening. Now,
yes.
preface it, and as Paul's here, Paul will help me make sure that happens. There are 2 previous Cheap Shots Challenge winners who are still waiting for their prize, which Paul will help me get sorted out. You'll make sure I do it when you pull out.
Yes.
But the winner of this round of the Cheap Shots Challenge, again, very apropos for April's Day, is going to win this. Thank you, John. The Olympus IS 1000. I'll even leave this fantastic filter that I've been using on it for the Cheap Shots Challenge. It's what a camera. Listen to that noise. Listen.
I like it, Graham.
It's practically silent in operation. It's got a flash. Pow! It's got it all going on.
2 flashes.
It's got 2 flashes, and it's got a hot shoe. Hey, you might wish. Look at that! You put a hot shoe. You can have 3 flashes on this camera at once.
And is IS image stabilization? That seems unlikely.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. No, I don't think it is. I don't know why it says IS. Maybe it just means is 1000.
Just random camera numbers and letters. You know how it goes.
Is 1000? I like that.
Yeah, it is 1000. So what a thing to aim for. The lucky winner of this. I can't wait to see what they make. You can see that one slight incident where the strap. Well, I dropped it, and then it nearly killed itself a second time because the strap broke. But it's
I think
fine.
you're selling
It's all
this a
good.
bit short as a prize, Graham, because this is not just any old camera. This is the camera that started the legend that is now the Cheap Shots Challenge.
Yeah.
This is the camera that I have referred to for years now as the Fugly.
Yeah. The one.
And so for those that don't know what an Olympus something what's it 1000 might be, that's it. This is the stuff of cultural history.
Yeah.
And
These are
if you put it on eBay, would it be worth £1,000, 2,000?
Oh, I mean, in this condition, at least, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, these are highly sought after. I would imagine
it's even better than that, Paul. He's going to mint an NFT, and he's going to assign the camera to it, and he's going to auction it for millions.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to nuffed it. The thing is, it takes pretty good pictures. Well, theoretically, it could take pretty good pictures. I've never managed to explore that aspect of it, but theoretically, it can take pretty good pictures. And I'm pretty sure that is the camera that whenever I mention it, Rachel says, "Oh, is it Clarice at Silvergrain?" You guys spoke to her, and I didn't. I wasn't there. Anyway, I think it's everybody's looking at me blankly. Anyway, it's somebody's favorite camera. I think it's Clarice. But I apologize if I got that completely wrong. Loves that camera. So it's got a double recommendation. So that's very exciting.
It's a good prize. It's a good prize. And I'm sure Paul will choose a worthy winner.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in?
Let's do it. John, run VT.
So just as we do this, just to recap. So we've had a pre-round where Paul has chosen a shortlist. Is that right?
Yes, Paul has been through and picked a shortlist of 9 images out.
And we are starting with an absolute classic. So what am I enjoying here? I think there's a couple of cliches coming together quite nicely here. So I think I love the photo of a viewfinder. I think that is brilliant, and it's taken it to another level. Normally, you do a smartphone photo of a viewfinder. This is a film camera photo of a viewfinder.
Ah, good point.
Obviously, it's a petrol station. Maybe not at full night, but definitely enough to see the neon. That's excellent. Minus points for not being Cinestill, but we will. In fairness, that film might be Cinestill, but it's this one that isn't. So.
Good point. Yes, the good point.
And maybe it's a photo of Cinestill being used through the viewfinder on HP5, which meta cliche. And then, of course, the final, the thing that really elevates this beyond your normal meta cliche photo is then including the frame Ilford HP5, the numbers, the frames. Oh, that is just, real class. That is.
That's, it's authentic. Also, I love. So this is from Jonathan Becker, and so he's got the camera he's taking a picture of on the tripod. Obviously, he's also got the camera that he's taking the picture with on another tripod. So he's stacking tripods out on the streets, and the camera that he's taking the picture with, it's a medium format camera, but it's a kind of Holga-esque in its capabilities. So he stacked on close-up lenses onto the front, then had to figure out where the focus point is using something on the back, and then put the film in. And then that's a lot gone into this seemingly quite simple picture, looking down the viewfinder of the TLR. It's great.
Did you then take a photo of the setup with another camera?
I don't. Let me have a quick look.
I don't. A smartphone photo of a camera taking a photo of a camera taking a photo.
Regrettably, I don't have that, but only the description, which was a delight. But he does mention within the things that he may have missed some cliches by not using CineStill 800T or overexposed portrait by 4 stops, but you can't have it all. So at least he's aware of where he fell down.
Exactly. And if he was going for Instagram cliche as well, he'd have used portrait, then converted it to black and white as a filter before posting. There's room for improvement. I'm not saying that it's a perfect cliche, but it is an absolute cracker to get started on.
Yeah, it's lovely layered. I think that's the thing with so many of the cliches within this, is that they are so beautifully layer upon layer of cliches going on. Awesome stuff. What's next, John?
So we move on to this, and again, this is one where there's definitely cliche. So let's talk about the parts that are cliche. The cliche would be that could be a rainy platform, so we might have some reflection there. There's definitely some leaving it open. Is that a gas station? It might be a gas station. So there's definitely elements of cliche there, but ultimately, the fact that it's turned into an abstraction makes it much more engaging, visually appealing than a straight rainy reflection of a gas station would be. So I feel like the artist here has all the strong concepts, then their execution has let them down by them making a photo that is more interesting than it deserved to be. Because I actually really like this one. I look true.
I really like this one as well.
Yeah, lovely. Taken through that rain-soaked window. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And
the blur on the right, like, it's not, I mean, it's probably not light painting, but there's some interesting thing that almost casts a veil, which again makes me think and appreciate it, which is not the point.
So this is from Billy Sanford. And hang on one second. So obviously, as you mentioned, Paul, petrol station on CineStill 800 was in his mind to do that. But because he wanted to really up the ante, he decided to go through the rain-soaked window. And yeah, I think it's worked very, very well. It looks cool. The other picture, because you mentioned about the neon lights and stuff, his other picture was of a Piggly Wiggly because he didn't have any fancy buildings nearby, and I just love the name Piggly Wiggly, so I wanted to bring that back up again. But yeah, cool stuff. And it's because we're 2 shots in and 2 petrol stations in, and one of those was on CineStill 800.
Okay, so I had picked up that this was CineStill, so okay.
This is CineStill, yeah, this is on CineStill. So
what's one point for CineStill minus a point for not having red neon then for the halation?
Yeah.
If you can look at a CineStill photo and not immediately say the word halation, then you're not clichéing strongly enough, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you're a tough judge to please, Paul. You really are. I mean, you're demanding everything, aren't you?
I know. Well, now this is the one that I really enjoyed. Now, I am a total sucker for double exposures, notoriously so. And again, this one made me pause because at first I thought, okay, that's 3 overlapping frames, but then the fact that the clouds line up so well. Is that a panorama with then an overexposing over the middle of it? Or is it 3 overlapping frames? Because the middle part looks almost too seamless. Definitely seems to be taken on something like a Diana or a Holga, where you can wind on and stop accidentally, deliberately, on purpose halfway through. But again, what I like about it is it's really well exposed seascape. You haven't lost the detail in the dark areas. You haven't blown up the clouds. So despite the best efforts to totally overexpose it and overlap things to the point of oblivion, actually, again, if I saw this as a panorama, I think I'd stop and enjoy it quite a lot.
Yeah, it's great. So this is from one of our lists with one of the greatest names ever, John Wolfe Slater, which what a great name. I mean, it's not just John Wolfe, he's the guy who goes around and dissing wolves. He's the Wolfe Slater, which is fabulous. And this was taken on an Agfa Isolet 3, which is a medium format folding camera, which is very cool because I love those. And yeah, as you said, it's a panorama made up of 3 overlapping frames, created, as he says, as an homage to David Hume, by which, in his words, you can read total ripoff. I think it's worked incredibly well because for the reason that you said, Paul, it's just so well done. It looks too good to be true. Yeah. I don't know that any of you guys have tried doing that kind of multi-shot panorama thing with a film camera. I have in the past, and it's been a dog's dinner. Be the phrase I use.
Although this does also the other reason I like this one is it reminds me of a diner that I had that at some point started leaking light. I think it was through the rear window, but I never really quite worked it out. But basically, because on a diner, I'd always forget whether I'd wound it on before taking the shot or after, so I'd always half wind it, because then you always wind the next one before you take a photo. But it meant that every single roll of film after a certain period of time came back with these overlapping just white squares stamped, which either at the time I thought that's ruined the roll, but now I look at this and I go, actually I should have done a full panorama and said it's deliberate. Never mind.
Claire, what do you think of this one?
No, I really like this one. I like the contrast of this image, and I think this gentleman's got another one as well, hasn't he? Because I think I've seen the biblical skies. They're quite epic, aren't they?
Very nice and contrasty. Yeah,
I like the contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to throw the other one out straight away because it looked like a really lovely photo.
Boo!
Exactly. It didn't really. It wasn't. I don't think it was particularly cliche because it was really well balanced.
Yeah.
Sun behind the cloud again without blowing it out, and very dramatic. High skies and clouds. It's cool.
Biblical skies. Totally understand though, because I know Graham hates the Diana camera, and I love I do really like the Diana camera, but I have the same issue of making sure that you winding it on and line it up. And I was saying to Graham last week that I'd kind of wasted a whole film roll because I just wound a whole film on because
all the way through.
Yeah,
keep going.
And actually, a dirty secret, I do actually love this. Cheap Shots challenge has made me realise that I like a lot of cliches. Probably do a lot myself, but I actually do really like cine-style garages. And so I bought the 800 film, and the cine-style one. The shot numbers are really faint, so I couldn't see them, and I thought something had happened, but I'd actually wound them on. So when I did my next film, what I was doing, just taking pictures around my sort of area. Every time I did a shot, I went back into my house so I could see that I was winding it on exactly because I was quite local, so.
That's heartbreaking.
Hard to do. You can't exactly shine a torch in the window either, can you? That's not a good idea either.
No.
Some sort of a headlight.
Yeah, but no, it's lovely, isn't it? It's kind of epic, and the contrast is lovely.
It is. I'm wondering what the people in the bottom left-hand corner are doing as well, and are they on the same exposure or are they on different exposures? That's the thing.
Right.
I'm like, how are they?
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll never know.
Great.
We'll never know.
I think that's a really good point, though, from Claire. You're saying about you like cliches, because cliches came from lots of people doing the same things in the same way because they like the look of it. And also, when Graham and I were talking about this when we first had the idea, there is almost a deliberate self-awareness of the snobbishness of calling things cliched when a lot of people learn through that. And actually, genuinely the best way to learn about halation on Sinister is to get out and find neon signs and petrol stations are. So you're not going to knock it, but I think it's just then you seeing it through Instagram.
There's loads of them,
That's where it becomes a bit more overwhelming.
All right, what's next, John? Oh, the sexy model shot.
This was brilliant. So there were two from Graham, very similar. It's brilliant. It's close up. It's quite wide angle, so you've got the distorted features.
No, that's just how his face looks.
You've got the very strong sort of blinds cutting across the face to create that. I had a lot of time for that. I was really stuck between the two because I think the other one was a bit more cliched in that it was also slightly out of focus. Not very well composed. Ultimately, this one I kept coming back to this. So I don't know whether it's truly more cliched than the other, but I think the concept of a close-up wide angle with some kind of dramatic shadow silhouette lighting in place is enough. And I really enjoyed this. I loved the expression. I love the fact that the focus is nailed. It's actually quite, again, a very compelling portrait for me.
I like it a lot. Yeah, it's great.
So what's Graham done with the lighting here? Because I don't quite. Is it emulating blinds, or maybe even using blinds?
Definitely.
So it could be something as straightforward as using blinds. I mean, there are ways of doing it with sort of simulating it. So one thing you can do is if you've got a mirror, you can put black electrical tape in a mirror in a grid pattern or whatever, and you can bounce your light off the mirror, and that'll carry the strength of shadows through the shot. Another way of doing it, if you've got big LED panels or something like that, actually it would work with speed lights or strobes as well. If you put black tape in a pattern across the diffusion fabric that you have, so that the light comes out in a different way, that's another way of simulating it as well. But I think by far the simplest way would be to find a window with a blind on it.
He's like a 1980s like one of these 1980s private detective TV series.
It is.
Yes, this is the promo shot, isn't it? This is the poster on the.
Yeah, this is the poster, and we can just see the titles and some of the credits.
It's probably worth mentioning. This is Graham Young from the Homemade Camera podcast, and people should actually go and. I mean, if you can't watch the video, there will be a link in the show notes to see all of these pictures as well, and all the other ones that have been part of this. This is a very sultry shot of Graham. He's got the come to bed eyes going on there. I think the only reason for me it slightly loses points to the cliches, he does still have his shirt on, and I think we can all agree that if he's going to really lean into that cliche of sexy model with the blinds lighting, he shouldn't have his shirt on.
Is that an insight to the images that you've submitted for this round, Graham?
I mean, sadly not.
All the ones that he looks at so much he thinks they're cliched.
I mean, that's the thing. At this point,
photos of people every time I open my phone.
At this point, pictures of me with my shirt off is a cliche. So I should have done that. God damn it! If only, mind you, I don't think anybody would wanted to use the camera after it'd been sullied like that. So
private eye, Graham, private eye, whatever.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great shot. Okay, what's next, John?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
Another really good photo. But the reason I thought I'd give it some cliche points is because if you were reading in a textbook about leading lines in a composition section, this would be the photo that would be used to illustrate the concept. So you've got these brilliant, you've got the vanishing points that's slightly offset from center. You've got really interesting black and white coming in, the really strong horizontals, and then the diagonals as well that make a very interesting photo. So this really works. You've got the triangles, you've got the fact that the horizontals change from it being dark to almost inverting. It's a really good black and white architectural study. But as I say, it is the perfect use of leading lines and vanishing points. So a strong cliche in that regard. Very well done.
Yeah, quite literally textbook stuff.
And it's not just
In
the
a good
leading
way.
lines. You got reflections in there. You've got the shadows running across. It's. I mean, as you said, it's beautifully executed, and it's also a perfect example of what you were saying earlier, Paul. There's a reason why we take these pictures, because I think if any of us were stood there and looked down there and saw that setup and didn't take a picture, all right, yes, it is. You know, we're all going to dip, but there's a reason why, because it looks fantastic, and this has been so well executed. And
I even like the little white sticker that then breaks the repeating pattern.
Yeah.
So it's even taken to another level. But you're right, and actually that reminds me that when we first had this chat, it was because in the woods we'd both seen, I can't remember, there was a tree trunk that had fallen into a reflected pool or something like that, and we both did stop and take identical photos, and then laughed about how everyone would do the same. So I think that's absolutely right. You'd like to think we'd all stop and take a photo. My photo would not be this well composed, but that's the skill.
Yeah.
And another thing I like about this, and actually with quite a few of the pictures that we've talked about today, which are using like the Puva Start camera and the Agfi. So this was on an Icoflex 3, which is 19. Hang on a second, the age of it isn't here. This is Juan Suarez, by the way. Juan Suarez's picture, a 1937 Icoflex. And fantastic picture. And I love seeing pictures like this and the other ones we've looked at, because they really do make you realize, okay, you can get amazing pictures with these cheap old cameras, and yet we all still hanker after the finest Hasselblads and Leicas. But
the thing about this that I'm thinking as well, that if this was taken, if this was nighttime and then it was lit with, I don't know, some LEDs or something, it could almost be a bit of like a portal into a different kind of zone, sort of a feel.
I think you're right. I think that it would remind me of the launch tubes on Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Or or Space Odyssey. Yeah, I really
you
like.
could put someone at the very end of it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
As a dramatic character or model.
Definitely.
Yeah, fun space. Awesome stuff.
Okay, here we go. So this is the closest thing I think that was submitted that was waterfalls. Mountains instead.
Water is going upwards.
Exactly.
You know where you went wrong, don't you, Paul, with all this? You not hear rule number 1. You should never go chasing waterfalls. I mean, we all know that.
Is it too late to reject the invite to this podcast? Excellent segue. We actually talked about that earlier. So we've got
I've been banana.
Ben gets the banana.
We do have some moving water. We have some slow exposure, although it's not enough to totally blur to the milky white water. You will read about. You can see some of the droplets frozen in time, but I think that's definitely worth hitting the cliche point from that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, does it help? This is an important point. This picture was shot with a Nikon Fun Touch.
Oh.
How do you feel about that? Fun Touch 3.
I think I've had a Fun Touch for a while, if I'm honest.
It must have been a fairly successful line of cameras if they got to the 3rd generation model.
It's great. Again, waterfalls are not waterfalls, fountains. You just kind of have to, don't you? You just have to go, fountain, I've got to take that picture. This is from Jack Bulkley, and he said my cliche challenge is not layered, but it's a point and shoot camera filled with HB5 and it's a fountain. Does it get less cliche than that? I don't think so. So good work.
That's a point, actually, and I don't think I've been paying due consideration to the setup cliches. But yeah, so point and shoot on HB5 is a very common way of starting film photography. So if we call that cliche, then I guess.
Just a side note on the Fun Touch series, right? I've just Googled it, and it turns out they did 6 generations of Fun Touch cameras.
The funner touch.
You're a brave man for googling Fun Touch live on.
I saw. I googled Nikon Fun Touch.
Oh,
so
okay.
less.
Safe search was on. It's fine. We're all good.
Okay, what's next, John? Yes.
I mean,
the camera-faced man.
What was brilliant? I think this is John Michael. I think it is.
Yeah, John Michael Mendiza.
John Michael submitted. It was a series, in fact, of this type of photo. The whole self-portrait or portrait in a mirror. I want to say it's a mirror because that'd be more cliche. So I'm going to assume mirror, unless you tell me otherwise. Photo in the mirror, dramatic lighting, nice smart shirt, so getting dressed up for the occasion. And then he'd submitted several with different facial expressions, which I really, really enjoyed. So it was a challenge to find the most cliched one. And actually, the reason that this one came out was because of the visual. I'm not sure it's a pun, but there's some kind of play there with the dual lens and the eyes and the winey knobbing the nose.
Yeah.
So there's another layer to this one that elevates it past.
He looks like Wall-E.
Yes, that's right. Maybe there's some kind of commentary on the human robotic nature of photography. That's quite a cliche word.
Maybe.
Exactly. So that's what elevated this one out of the
fantastic?
series. But frankly, I could have picked any of them. Sorry, Claire.
No, I was just saying the lighting on this is fantastic. It's beautifully lit.
Yeah, it's kind of a film noir, very hard light, isn't it? And it's deliberately shaped to just like his face, but not even his hair or his neck or anything like that. So it's very, 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 very deliberately shaped.
Yeah, and in the email, he mentions the fact that he wanted this very sort of hard thing. So he was using Washi S sound recording film.
Nice.
And Pan F, and these were inspired by an image. I think we talked about these on the show in the past, but this was inspired by an image by Andreas Feininger called The Photojournalist, which is a sort of iconic picture where he's holding his Leica, and it's kind of like half his face is the Leica, and it's a pretty incredible image, which we probably should have been organised enough to share beforehand, but I forgot to look it up. But also I mentioned these before as well, but John Michael did also send me the actual darkroom prints of these pictures as well.
Wow.
So they're lovely, and they look even better as darkroom prints than they do obviously the classic. There we go. Hey!
In Richard, you might have the other one that I really liked was where the contrast was pushed even further. So it's almost like a balaclava, the loose
bang, bang. Detail. That would be this one?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
That was the other one that I was really tempted by, but then I realised it was more because it was a really captivating image rather than anything else.
Really lovely.
It's very.
That reminds me of like a David Bailey portrait. I don't know why, but it does.
Like pick it up through the YouTube, but you can actually read what's on the lens. So the detail and the focus is exceptional.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we keep mentioning what the cameras use this, so I will just mention again. It's Beltica, a Beltica folding camera. Again, like I said, folding cameras get a lot of bang for your buck with that. And he was using his auto knips, which again inspired me to get my little auto knips. Self timer. Everybody needs an auto knips. So that's very cool. And really, really great stuff.
You're right, the eyes, aren't they, and the little eyes and nose. It's great.
Yeah, really, really well executed. I mean, that thing of because as he said in the thing, this idea of the picture of the photographer with the camera held in front of his face, and that was what he wanted to explore. And then he looked into it to see, well, where did this start? Oh, well done, John. Look at John, king of Googling. There's the Andreas Feininger original image. So you can see what his inspiration was. And I think that really shows how incredibly well he did bringing it to life.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, what's next? We must be getting through these now.
Just a couple more to go. Yeah.
Okay, so this one got an automatic shortlist for tram lines. Anything with tram lines being the main focus, and I lived in Geneva for a year, and I was very guilty of every intersection stopping and nearly getting hit by bicycles in order to do something like this. Extra points for being low to the ground, so an unconventional viewpoint of a conventional street scene. I thought that was very good. I'd have liked to see something like pedestrian legs stepping over to create a nice triangle to frame the trams, to again layer a cliche on top of that. But no, this is a very strong photo, a really nice European style city. I don't know where it is, but and also I found the sun shape really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I was trying to work out what gives it that really distinct beams.
So that is
Starburst.
this thing. Basically, this filter that's on here, because I've got a couple of pictures that I took that I haven't shared this thing, but this is a it did exactly that, split it in the exact same way, and this is a 057 filter. Kokan filter, but yeah, it's that kind of start. I'm not going to wrestle this off here. Whoever gets this camera can wrestle. It comes off fine, everybody. Don't worry. But yeah, that's what it is. It's these filters, a plastic front, and they're scored to split it up.
I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. Also, we'll come on to what it does to the film later. But yeah, they're fun and work well with stuff like that. Looks very cool. And they're cheap.
There were two, I think, that he'd done that both had the same. And yeah, I was trying to work out whether it was a function of the aperture size or shape or something, but a filter makes
yeah,
perfect.
A filter, yeah. So this is from Mark Thompson, and this was shot on a Lubitel, so I think he deserves sympathy for that, obviously. Yeah, and he's using a Kokan Starburst filter, which are the cheapest of special effects things you can pick up these days. You can get the Kokan adapters to go on the front, and I mean, let me put it like this: if you want one, I've got dozens of those adapters. I feel like, because they're everywhere, and every time you buy a camera, there's one shoved in a bag somewhere with it.
Isn't there an album cover from like the 90s? Is it Embrace? And they've got, are they in like Manchester walking around buildings with something like this, with sort of the sun like this? Or have I dreamt it?
No idea. You might have done. I don't. I'll be honest.
Then
Embrace are not occupying a large space in my brain at this point. But yeah, it's really fun. Very well executed again. And yeah, as you said, nice and low to the ground. Look along there, get the sun in. It's worked very nicely. Very nicely.
Oh.
And here we go, the final one. So yep, you win cliche points here straight away. And I think is this Bill too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got a lovely vintage color cast.
Yeah.
That we can see. You've got things beautifully out of focus. So technical imperfection as art, definitely. And then you've got the hands being led into the scene. But again, I really enjoyed this twist on it, because this is a very analog and lo-fi version of the Instagram cliche.
Have we got any production notes, Graham? Because
I do.
What questions I have about this one?
What would you like to know? Because what I think is great about this is that this is such a working within the limitations of lockdown situation.
I was going to say, because he hasn't made a trip specially, has he? So I always
No,
get
he
the
has not.
pronunciation of this wrong, but is it Uluru is the right pronunciation?
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly, as Bill doesn't live near there, as far as best I know, I'm going to guess at that he has made this image by projecting an old slide or something like that of the photo, and then setting up the two little toy characters in the front.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's projected or whether it's just a print sat behind it, because I think that but yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Yes.
This was shot with, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with this camera aid. It's a Pentax Auto 110 that Bill has somehow come into possession of.
That's an amazing cheap shots camera. That is yes. For the listeners that don't know the story behind that 110, that Pentax Auto 110 used to belong to me, and I did use it for the cheap shots challenge. I think several rounds.
Yeah,
and it found a better home with Bill a year or so ago. It's in one of my clear outs. So very glad to know that it's found a better home and it's going to get more love and attention.
Well, it's going on travels as well.
Yeah. At the same time, I think on the same day, I sent another camera to a mate of mine in Ireland. Bill's arrived in about 10 days. The one to Ireland took, I think it was 7 months.
Wow.
The post wasn't doing so well back in lockdown 1.
Oh God, no, it really wasn't.
I really want to know what the doll is, you know?
Yeah, sadly that I can't tell you.
No,
Sorry, go ahead, Claire.
Bill will have to let us know.
Bill will have to let you know. I'm good without having that information. He said the film
lady went on another adventure. The lady featured there went on another adventure with one of his other submissions. Around Sydney, apparently. So maybe there is an entire series or a zine on the way, and we're just seeing the very start.
Yeah,
maybe. He says that the film he used was packaged as Metropolis, but the rebate says purple, so your guess is as good as mine. And he also says that he particularly enjoys the bokeh of this image, which extends from the background through the subject itself and into the foreground, which I think is fabulous.
It leaves the screen and enters your own eye, blurring your vision for a few minutes.
It's all bokeh all the time. Yeah, I mean, and my understanding is that you can never have enough bokeh. So, I mean, good work. Very good work.
There's also vignetting. So
another good cliche point, definitely.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good. So that is all of them, is it? That is all of them. Okay. Well,
I'd like to be the first to say, Paul, that is a fantastic selection. All of them are brilliant, and I having now that we've been through them, I'm totally with you on how confusing it must be to choose a cliche when you're expecting to choose something crap, but you get actually really good photos.
I know. I think when people then sat down and you invest the time in a project, I think people really struggle to just stop at that first obvious photo and actually enjoy playing with it to the point where I would happily spend quite a lot of time with any of those photos in their own life. So really well done to everyone. Thank you for embracing a crazy idea that Graham and I had out on one of the between lockdown walks.
But there does have to be a winner, because much though honestly I could probably be persuaded to take a hammer to this and smash it into 9 different pieces. I wouldn't. It's a good working camera. But Paul, who is going to win the IS 1000?
Well, it has to be, for me, as I looked through, and we've been through it, there are great cliches, there is a lot of art, but there is one that scored really highly on both of those measures. And for me, that is John Michael Veltica with his, with the Rolleiflex face camera. And actually, when I saw the photo that you put up, I have seen that photo before. I must have been tangentially aware of it because of the similarities here. So for me, this wins because it is clearly paying homage to a very well-known photo, yet it is done with a level of skill and artistry and technical delivery that I think is well above the average and well above what I expected people to invest into this project. So huge congratulations. That for me, outstanding.
Yeah. Well done, John Michael and Lisa.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice and a worthy winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I said tough crowd because so many, all of the pictures had thought and energy put into them to create something that was more than just boom. I can see how that made it harder. Fortunately, Paul, you'll be glad to hear that I didn't. I very much did what you wanted to do, which was the minimum of thought. Click. So, so we should probably move on to that then. Without further ado, should we move on to the host pictures?
Well, why not? Why
not? And shall we start with Aid pictures?
You want to start with mine?
So do you want to talk us through, Aid, what you were doing with yours? Because yours was a process. Yours was a thought out thing.
Mine was a thought out thing and a process. And so I was, as we know, not being anymore, as we just said, the owner of the Pentax Auto 110, I was using my Instax camera. So I was thinking to myself, well, cliches. I've got instant fill, and I went with what is it, a modern emerging cliche of the last couple of years, which is the theme of sky replacement. Okay, so where you replace the sky in your photo with something that looks a little bit more dramatic, which is quite tricky to do unless you've got really small scissors. Because as you know, like Instax minis are not very big, and if you're going to replace the sky in a shot, right? See, John's showing us a couple now. So yeah, I'd say I'm sure you'd agree these are seamless.
They're depressingly, they really are. God.
Yeah, so there's I've been out shooting lots of sky photos and then shooting just normal photos around, and I had to try and pick some that would map together, and you'll notice that some of my Instaxes are taller than you might the usual
they
Instax.
are.
I had noticed.
And it's not because I've got a fancy Instax camera that takes Instax 16:9 or anything like that. It's just the lining up of these things.
I thought you had the Hasselblad X-Pan Instax.
So I've just been running around shooting these things and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And some work better than others. I find it's quite hard. Well, John's on this one. I find it's quite hard to select trees and cut around trees with scissors. It's a bit like my Photoshop skills, actually, which are pretty poor. I'm never very good at the selects in Photoshop either, to be honest.
I appreciate that John is for the watching or for listening. John is zooming right in to just show that it is very hard to cut around tree leaves. I think you've done a very good job, Aid. If that had been me, it would have been a straight line across, done.
Well, I did think about that in a couple of them, and that's why you'll see that a lot of these pictures, the lower half of the image is a roof line or something like that, where it is just in the real world a straight line. That made the production of the images a lot easier. You see that? Here's one that John's showing now.
I'm not sure I understand yet why they're so tall.
It's more a personal preference, to be honest, Paul. It's I quite like tall images. If I'm going to have I quite like wide screen type images and then tall images. I like to be a 2:1 or greater ratio, be it portrait or landscape.
But are these Instaxes that are taken both cut out and then put together, or one cut out and overlaid?
No. They're taken a completely different time. So the bottom half of the shot and the top half of the shot are taken at completely different times. So my skies are deliberately full frame skies. This is how I make them so how I make them so tall. And the bottom part of the picture I'm cutting around to where the border with the sky would be with little scissors, which is quite a fiddly little job but fun. So this one that John is showing now is my entry, if you like, for the hosts round of the Cheap Shots Challenge. This is one which I thought came out the most realistic of all of them. Have a look, see what you think.
I think you've done a great job with that.
I do.
I didn't know it was a cliche until now because I don't pay attention to what's going on. But this whole sky replacement thing is actually quite a big thing that people are doing these days.
There is, and there's a lot of software that's being sold, be it software, be it apps for phones or computer software that say they use AI to do sky replacements and things like that. There's also automatic touching up of portraits and stuff like that as well. So I want that, and instead of having like you do in Lightroom, where you'd pick a gradient filter and you place it very delicately over the eye and you change the exposure and contrast of the eye and stuff like that. You just get one slider these days. It just says brighter eyes and you slide it and the eyes go brighter. It's quite
so
clever.
Amy, are you going to be selling this as a plugin then for Photoshop?
what, a pair of nail scissors and a pack of Instax?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was like, where do you download? Oh, you don't download. You get post.
This is a film photography podcast, is it not? So well, if you want to talk bundles after the show, Paul, we could do a collab. I'll supply second-hand nail scissors and you can supply the film.
Oh,
that sounds good.
No.
That sounds like a good collab to me.
Anyway, there we go. So that was my attempt at cliches. Sky replacement, bit of a modern cliche. Don't know if it qualifies, but Paul will be the judge of that.
A lot of effort as well, Aid.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely put in more thought and effort in than I did. But what about you, Claire? Let's look at Claire's pictures because I don't have a chance to look at Claire's yet. Wait for them to.
That was one I threw in. So yeah, I was thinking. Well, I see a lot of it on Instagram. You know, girls taking pictures of themselves with their cameras kind of in the mirror. So this was on that theme. I did have another one where I kind of had the camera lower down and I did like real pout, but I didn't bother to put that in. So this is one camera to camera in the mirror shot.
So what camera did you use to take this picture, Claire?
That one was a Canon 300.
I was going to say, it's a stupid question, really. I mean, it is a picture of a camera in the mirror, it's going to be the camera that you're holding. I realised that with hindsight, I could probably have answered that question very much for myself by just going, "Oh, it's the Canon." Yeah, that's cool. So you did slightly bail on your Diana this time round.
Well, no. I put that one in because that was on the Diana is coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
So I tried now. Then I was actually going to do the Cine Still petrol station, but I thought I did that for one of our other challenges. So I tried to think of some more cliches. And staying local and everything. So I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I thought I thought Fields of Corn are quite a bit of a cliche, aren't they? You have like a I don't have it obviously in this picture, but you know, you see them, don't you? And they have like sometimes a poppy or something in the field. But so I did a cornfield.
Well, I mean, you did a field with some tall stuff in it. You definitely did not do a cornfield in February in Wales.
Whatever, grass. Yeah, that was one. And then my next
technicality.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
This was like my Swan Lake. It should be. Here it is. It should be the other way around, like that. So this is. I remember. Swans used to be a bit of a cliche, didn't they? Especially kind of like on Diana cameras. So here's my swans, my Swan Lake.
It's a nice picture of a swan. It's a nice. It's I obviously took it at night, I'm guessing.
Well, actually, Graham, it was the Diana F and you know the flash, but it wasn't completely night. No, it was sort of towards the end. It was getting on towards the end of the day, but it came out, you know.
It looks very nice.
Yeah. So I tried to think of a couple of different ones. So they're on my Diana camera.
I think they're very nice. And they're very nice. And I really like the lighting in that first one of you with the camera in front of your face.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. Very nice lighting. Very nice and warm.
I think was it I've got in my head that one of the lomography either film packets or their cameras had, I think, a swan with a very similar aesthetic as like
swans. Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I've seen a photo like that.
Yeah, swans were a cliche. I did do a horse, but I didn't put the horsey in. So yeah.
Okay, and last and least, let's look at what I farted out for this round of the Cheap Shots Judge. So mine were cliches in the sense that it's the same boring cliche stuff that I always take pictures of. I wanted to do something more interesting and I just did. Oh, hang on. Well, this was my vague attempt. This was the one attempt at doing something more interesting when my boys were up last time. And this is me trying to get them to do, you know how you did the heart around the sun? Well, that's the heart around a sign that says warning, danger of death. But the 35mm film. It was asking a bit too much of it to resolve that, especially as it was going through that filter, because I just stuck the filter on there. I thought, well, come hell or high water, I'm using this. It was a very grey, overcast day. Not ideal for using a starburst filter, but you've got to lean into these things, I think. And what I found was, and doesn't show up on the pictures here. Okay, so actually, can you go to just the picture of the cat? So because there's a real story about it. So first picture, and that's there you go. So picture of a cat, classic cat.
That's great.
Everyone has a picture of a cat, and there's a picture of flowers, which are both a cliche and very much a personal cliche. And then I think the ultimate perfect thing is a cat in flowers, which it multiplies exponentially the greatness of that picture.
Is this
so No, this is my mum's cat. This is my mum's cat, Charlie, in front of some hellebores, or behind some hellebores. Just far enough behind them for it to not be in focus, but as long as you don't look too closely.
And was this taken on the IS 1000 still?
This was it is 1000, yeah. I said that camera's pretty good, and this was my first time using Kentmere film. This was Kentmere 400, and it's a nice film. I was quite surprised by how contrasty it is, not in a bad way, but it was quite contrasty, and it was that filter, the starburst filter. I got 2 pictures of a tree. They're very boring pictures, which is why I didn't do it with them, but they're just pictures of a tree, one with the filter on and one without. And it's amazing how it lowered the contrast quite nicely, actually, on the one without. So it's okay, this might have more uses. But yeah, I like the Kentmere. I can see, because it's a film that's come up quite a lot with people using it for the Cheap Shots Challenge. But I think it's done quite a nice job. Like I said, those flowers are just green and white, and it's actually managed to pick out fairly well, and it's not bad at all. Lots of bokeh there as well. This camera does bokeh. It has a macro mode, so you press a button, it zooms the lens out. Look at all that macronizing there. 35mm. Look at the detail. Just if you find any dust on there, John, I'm gonna swing for you. Oh, there is dust. There's like a big hair on the cat's nose. Well, I mean, there's many hairs on the cat's nose, but that's not that the other one, the one in the flowers. All right, so I know there's dust there, John. Thank you. God, making me look bad. That's if I need your help. Yeah, so there you go. That was my feeble attempt at cliche, which, when held up against our listeners' thoughtful efforts, and indeed Aid's efforts with cutting and literally pasting, I feel like I did very, very poorly. But fortunately, that's not my place to say. My place is to say that my pictures are definitely the best picture, and I should win.
I do Paul, like the flowers. Are they bluebells? I don't know.
They are summer snowflakes, or leucoium.
Okay.
Very nice.
Just because it takes me back to the time when you and I first met. In the old days of the pixelated photographer forums, and you used to post a lot of flower photos.
Yeah, I did.
And so they are definitely, as you said it yourself, they're definitely a personal cliche.
They really are. Yeah,
that one was taken. Good to see you taking it. Good to see you getting back to taking flower photos.
Thanks. Yeah. The world needs more flower photos. I think that's what's been lacking.
We need you sitting there, Graham, eating a flake.
Maybe next time I'll work on that. Or me in the bathtub eating a flake, I think, is what the world is crying out for. But or screaming out against. It's one of the two. I can never remember which it is.
The fine line between joy and horror. I've always found that.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, absolutely. So, Paul, you now need to. I mean, what a tough choice. How are you going to pick between Aid's hard work, care, attention to detail, and thoughtfulness? Claire's beautiful pictures on her Diana, which is a high difficulty level camera to make anything good come out of, or my picture of a cat. And bear in mind, we're on the internet, so cat definitely should get bonus points because cat.
This is a tough one. You've all approached it very differently. I have to say straight away that in third place, you didn't ask me to make.
I feel in my heart I can see the way that this is going.
I'm afraid that in third place is very clearly Graham, and the reason is consistently. Okay, I'm going to try and judge this consistently across, your listeners and now the judges.
Mm-hmm.
These photos, I look at them and I don't immediately think cliche. I look at them and the first thing I think is, these are really nice photos.
That's it.
Terrible job. And one of the cat yawning is possibly cliche in that maybe it's seen it before. If you captioned it something like pseudo safari, then maybe it's got an extra point for like trying to be ironic about wildlife. But ultimately, that's just a really lovely photo of and similarly, flowers might be cliche, but at the moment, with it being spring and everything, that lifted my spirits. So I mean, you missed the focus on the third one. That was a good point. But
yeah.
But ultimately, you let yourself down with a high quality of photography. So sorry, Graham, you are definitely not in the running. So then I have a tough choice between two people who put a lot of effort in, with very different results. And I think Aid's ability to take an overall photography cliche and adapt it to analog is outstanding. However, maybe because I don't live in the digital photography world, the idea of swapping the skies is actually the first time I've heard of this.
Oh, really? Okay. So not a cliche to you then?
Sadly, I would look at it like that's a really new and interesting, unique way of approaching photography.
You're a trendsetter, Aid.
The sky you have with the sky you want. That seems crazy to me. So unfortunately, I walked away from that as a new and unique. And therefore, Clare is the winner. But it's not purely because of discounting the other two. There's two ones that really jump out to me. This photo, the self-portrait in the mirror, with the yellow lighting, with the sort of the browny yellow background, with the camera that is very clearly not the most beautiful of Leicas, and then
big plastic cannon
versus the sky replacement, which, as I say, is a brand new idea to me. I see this photo, this type of photo, several times a day, and I think it's the fact that it's the color scheme for me that really brings this to life. And then I must say as well, the swans one. I'm gonna find the lomography product that had this plastered all over it. Because that, I swear, is a photo I've seen, and the fact that is, I have that strong a feeling towards it shows that cliche has been absolutely nailed. So, Claire,
thank you so much.
Well done, Claire.
Thank you, Paul.
Congratulations.
Really good work. And Aid, I'm really sorry. I feel really bad. I'm now going to go and Google it, and I'm sure be overwhelmed by the mediocrity of how many people are using it. Like HDR. Is it like HDR like 10 years ago when everyone was just whacking up HDR to the max?
It kind of is that. You need to check out a product called Luminar. It's just a software product that does all of this AI stuff and replaces things automatically. But there are loads of phone apps that do it as well. But
what I'm waiting for is face swapping, where my face can be swapped with that of somebody.
What
John's found it.
Oh yeah, it's a holder.
A dark version.
That's not the one I have in my head, because the one I have in my head is very much the really dark background and so on. Actually, lomography have two swap products, which I think makes the point even better.
It does. It does.
That's awesome. Hey, John, now we've been through all the pictures, you gonna put your face up on screen so we can see your beautiful face. Come and join us. Get that Holger off there. Get your face on the screen.
It's on cliche photos, and if not, what cliche would he now want to capture?
That's
Hold
a good
on,
question.
I need to do some technical stuff. What was that? Sorry, Paul.
I was saying, did you take any cliches for this?
No.
And if not, is there one that, as you've looked through this, you've thought, I really want this cliche in my photographic portfolio?
I'll come and join you in a second and answer that question.
While you're doing the technical stuff, John, Graham, you were starting to say something before I rudely interrupted you with what John had found.
Oh, I can't imagine it was anything remotely important. So that's fine. I can't remember what it was. It's gone from my head. But no, well done, Claire. That's awesome. A
Yeah.
very worthy winner with your great big down in front of your face. That's awesome. Well, do you need more time, John, or are you? He's juggling the cards to make room for Aries.
There we
Oh.
go. Hi, everybody.
There we go.
Hi.
How you doing?
So, John, just because we haven't been able to ask you throughout, what's your feeling on the entries we got for this round?
I agree with Paul. They were too good. Generally, when you see a cliche, or particularly on social media, I just skip past it immediately because you've seen them a million times before. But some of these, it's just actually they've gone beyond the cliche and turned them into something unique, which is admirable of the listeners.
Yeah, they're all quite arresting, aren't they? Which I think is fantastic. There were a couple of other things I just wanted to very quickly mention this week because they're sort of vaguely timely. One, we'll talk about again greater. I just want to say a quick thank you to our good friend Alex Purcell, Grainy Blur. Hey, look, you got one too.
The cover actually of Alex's, the horses.
Yeah. This is a zine this is Alex's first zine, which is kind of crazy to me, because you just thought it made one ages ago, of his pinhole photography. Alex does loads of pinhole photography, makes loads of his own cameras. It's a really lovely zine, and what I love about Alex's work with pinhole is that he really uses the medium to get the best out of it, to get some really extreme angles and really lean into it in a way that I always fail miserably to do with pinhole, and I always end up with pictures I could have taken on an ordinary phone and just on an ordinary camera and just not been so blurry. So that's really lovely. Thank you, Alex.
Very much. Thank you, Alex.
And you'll find Alex's Grainy Blur on Instagram and Twitter. So if you go and check out those places, you'll find more about it. John's got his copy too. Everyone's got their copy. There you go. It's a great book. Also wanted to mention, because it is timely, Ethan Moses, our good friend Ethan Moses, who at this point I am starting to resemble more than I had realized. I looked at the video he shared. He's like, oh no, Ethan and I are becoming twinsies in this sense. He is developing something called the boop boop trigger, because of course it's called the boop boop trigger. This is Ethan, and this is something which he's designed to make scanning slides, digitizing mounted slides super easy. So if you are somebody, or you know somebody who has got hundreds or thousands potentially of old slides that you need digitizing, this is absolutely something that you should check out. We will probably have Ethan on for a quick Sunny 16 podcast extra within the next week or so to talk about it. But in the meantime, there is a video that he's put up about it, super fast slide scanning with the boop boop trigger. And we'll put a link in the show notes to that, so you can go and have a look at it and check it out. And I think he's got an article going up on 35 MMC as well, which you can go and read. But yeah, it's just lovely to see. There you go. I'm not quite sure. That's the article on 35 MMC. Thank you.
It's on Emulsive, this one. But yeah, there is one.
Oh, it's on Emulsive. There you go.
There is one on 35 MMC as well.
So whatever your flavor is, you can go to those places and check it out. So very cool. Was there anything else that we were supposed to be talking about this week? I can't remember now. My brain.
I saw on Twitter today FP4 Party. That I know is very Twitter focused. So if you're not on Twitter, it might be a bit tougher. But I think last year it got a bit screwed over by COVID, whereas now they've had time to plan it. So if I can throw that into the mix, I think it's Sandeep and Emulsive and a couple of others, I think, run it. And I think the rules are, let me just quickly check, shoot FP4, Ilford's FP4 Plus on the first week of April, post it on the 3rd. So I don't know if there's prizes or what the facility is, but I just thought, I saw it today and I thought, I'm going to get involved.
Is FP4 nicely in stock, Paul?
Yes.
Oh, it's worrying you. I had to think for a second.
Tomorrow, yes, sure. No, Ilford Films are good. So.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Great to hear. Anything else we should be remembering?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Could I ask for trying the cliche Instagram challenge tomorrow? So if this goes out on the Thursday, can we all put tomorrow afternoon a cliche photo with a cliche caption just to see if anyone twigs?
Okay. Yeah.
I know the cliche I'm going to do. It's a picture of a sign where the caption is just the text that's on the sign.
Stop.
Yeah, stop. Collaborate and listen.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Well, thanks again, I guess, to everybody who contributed for this round. It's been a really fun seeing everyone's pictures. Seeing as you came up with this round, Paul, we won't impose on you to come up with the next one. We'll find somebody or some other way of doing it. But we will have another round of Cheap Shots Challenge again soon. I'm kind of hopeful that as we head into better times and warmer times, that people will be able to get out more with their cameras and get back into the cheap shot mode a bit more. Because it's a fun thing to do, and it makes me feel really good seeing the work that it's inspired. Actually, like seeing John Michael's winning picture, but not just that, all the entries. You look at that and go, I'm really pleased that this fun challenge inspires somebody to go out and take the time and make that. Like your Instax pictures, Aid. Like the fact that I think without this you would never have done that, and you've got a really cool thing out of it at the end. It's awesome.
It is. It's good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Claire, congratulations to you as well. I have to be nice to Claire. If it was Aid, I'd be screaming so loud now. But...
There is a certain bias in your behaviour. I have noticed actually that you're being very, very nice to Claire. Whenever you've lost to me in the past, it's always. It's
because whenever I've lost to you, I've been robbed by malignant forces, I think is why. Actually, and I'll put a link in again. Silver Grain Classics, because Rachel did send us this thing. We'll put a link in the show. Silver Grain Classics have got advert for a very cool new retreat they're planning. So go and check that out. There'll be a link in the show notes. Post haste, go and check that out. That'd be cool.
Okay,
that's all I've got to say about that.
Is that us done then for this show? It's. Okay,
so
well, in Max's case, I think I should probably, just as I close the show, apologise for suggesting up front that this might be a longer than usual show. I have good reason. There's good historical precedent to say that the Cheap Shots show's gone on a long time. In fact, I'm sure there's one round that we're actually in another multiverse still recording.
I think poor Johnny Sissons is still recovering from that show, which we spent over 2.5 hours recording and didn't even get onto the host shots. We had to do that on a separate day. Poor Johnny. We learned from that.
He was a star.
He's brilliant. He was brilliant.
And he was very forgiving too.
Thank goodness.
So at least we've learned a little bit of our lesson, and we haven't subjected Paul to too much of that this evening. But thank you again, Paul. Good to speak to you. Good to see you, and thank you for judging the show this time around.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, I guess that's it then, isn't it, folks? We have been the Sunny 16 podcast. Cheap Shots Challenge, Sunny 16. These are the cliches that you think of when you think about film photography podcasts, are they not? Come on now. We will play you out with Rachel's band Rocker. You can get their album Promises I Should Have Kept on iTunes, on Amazon, on Spotify, I think now on SoundCloud. Go check them out. You hear part of one song every week. There's a whole bunch of really good stuff that they've made out there, so go take a listen. And with that, all that remains is to say thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.